Then the last question I want to ask you is about the role of our organization, the role of yourself, of Lynn LaRouche, of our candidates in Denmark and our organization in coming out of this crisis. What our role is, if you could endorse our candidates, and also if you could speak about the role that a small nation could play, because Denmark is a small country, and many people think that we cannot do anything. We only have to wait for the others. Yet on the other hand, Denmark is not in the euro and may have a possibility of making a contribution to the political shift. But if you could say something about that.
Well, I'm not saying this out of arrogance, but simply because of a recognition that, I mean, the thing which is really difficult for me, and I'm an old political battle horse, difficult to really understand, even if I do understand it. Here the world is crashing against the wall. I mean, everybody can see that or feel it or somehow experience aspects of it. And there is not one government, at least not in the Western Hemisphere, Western transatlantic region, which says so. I mean, here you are crashing against the wall, and political leaders are incapable of correcting what led to this situation out of lack of knowledge, lack of education, lack of morality, I don't know, but they're not doing it. So that has, given us the role by a process of negative selection, so to speak, that we are it. And, we are right now the most important combative force, trying to put courage into people in the United States, where my husband is the key, leading voice, intellectual voice to provide conceptions in this fight. And in Europe and in the rest of the world, we are doing a lot of things, by trying to put this Glass-Steagall in the minds of people, because the worst thing is if you say there is no alternative and you can only walk like a lemming to the cliff and jump, which is what all these European leaders are saying. Mrs. Merkel, there is no alternative. She's all the time saying this. So we say, no, there is an alternative. There is Glass-Steagall. There is a program of world reconstruction. We have a program to develop Africa. We want to have a European mission to develop Africa, because this continent right now has 20 million people in mortal danger in East Africa. There are millions of people in danger in other parts, Niger, Mali. And, people should not complain about streams of refugees coming, or closing their borders to try to keep them out. This will not work, because if this process of collapse continues with a hyperinflation in food prices, you will not have thousands of people, but you will have millions of people running away from hunger and starvation from Africa, from the Middle East, from Eastern Europe. And then no country can close their borders and think they can survive. I think this is not a practical policy. And therefore, what we need instead is to say there is an alternative, Glass-Steagall, World Land Bridge with a specific focus for the Europeans on the development of Africa. And then we can solve the problem. And our organization, we have been working on that. My husband has worked on this in 60 years or longer. The rest of us, some of them almost 40 years. And now we are at this point of decision, and we know what to do. This is, as I said, it's without arrogance, but we know what to do. Your candidates know what to do. I know them well. They are very competent people. I think Denmark needs them because they have a specific historic and economic expertise which will be to the great benefit of Denmark. So I think that is a very crucial point, and I think Denmark is very fortunate that it's not in the euro right now, because that gives you a certain amount of leverage and national sovereign ability to correct things. And I think Denmark could start allocating credit for these projects like the Kattegat project and other projects to start to gear up the economy for the reconstruction after this whole nightmare is over. And it's not true that small countries cannot do anything, because, you know, small countries are like individuals, you know. I mean, I always think about the example of Moses Mendelssohn, you know, who came from a tradition, you know, which didn't really allow him very much intellectual work at the time. So he left Dessau, he went to Berlin, and he conquered all the knowledge of his time, mathematics, languages, history, philosophy. And in a very short period of time, he became known as the Socrates of the 18th century. And I think, you know, that would be for me what I would think Denmark could do, because you can take anything. You have fantastic scientists, you have a proud history, you have a beautiful Hans Christian Andersen, who is, I appreciate more the more I learn about him. And so you can just say, look, we will go for a science driver, for a cultural renaissance, and Denmark will be a very fortunate country among, you know, hopefully a better world. So I think people should be optimistic. You know, the danger is absolutely there. I mean, the danger to civilization was probably never as big as now. But I think we have the resources, and if people, you know, in time decide not to sit on the fence, but to support these three candidates and start to study what the Schiller Institute is saying, go to the website, spread the word, help to become part of a force to, you know, take mankind from the abyss and bring it to a better future. I think you have a great future, and Denmark will be important, and I will be very happy to visit you there soon.
Mm-hmm. I want to thank you very, very much for taking your time to share your thoughts with us on the eve of the election. And I would just say to the Danish voters, please, Mrs. LaRouche has laid out the possibility for you to play a role in world history. Please take this moment, vote for our candidates, and do everything you can to push through our program to save humanity. Thank you very much.